back, everybody. Time in the WHIP studios is 11:40. 215-204-WHIP is our number. Zach Gelb here with you, taking you up until noon Eastern time, where the Temple Sports Hour will come your way. And we're getting ready here in the city of brotherly love for Monday Night Football. Tonight, Eagles and Giants, NFC East bragging rights on the line. And joining us on the hotline right now is a former New York Giant head coach from 1997 to 2003, and that is a good friend of the show. The great Jim Fassel joins us right now. Coach Fassel, Zach Gelb here in Philadelphia. Thanks for a few minutes. How are you?
Oh, always good to talk to you guys. I'm doing great. I'm down in Manhattan Beach enjoying the weather.
Oh, well, we're definitely jealous of you because it's starting to get cold here in Philadelphia, so we are very jealous of that weather. Hopefully you can send some of that warm weather this way, Coach. I'm sure you're playing a lot of golf these days too, right?
Yeah, well, my wife and I have a home in Las Vegas, and that's where I play golf. When I come over here, it's more riding the bikes on the beach.
Oh, well, that's definitely a great life to live right now. I'm actually very jealous of you because it's cold here in Philly. But you had a lot of games where you coached against the Eagles. It's always a fun NFC East games. These games are usually really close. What's that best memory that you ever had about playing the Philadelphia Eagles as the head football coach of the Giants?
Well, I tell you, the most challenging game that I've ever coached, was when I came there, we beat the Eagles twice every year for 4 years. And then we met them in the playoffs. Okay, so this is going to be, after 4 years of beating them, I didn't want my team to overlook it. I was nervous. I said, if we get a home field advantage and we've beaten this team 8 straight times and we lose at home and lose that, I said, whoa, I'm going to be in trouble. And it was a hell of a football game, very close game, but we ended up winning it.
Your team's had so much success, and then the Eagles went on that big run of success as well with Andy Reid and Johnson, McNabb, Westbrook, Brian Dawkins, and all those guys. And there's a lot of now those players that have retired, and now they're being honored by the Philadelphia Eagles. One of those being Brian Westbrook, as he's going to be inducted into the Eagles Hall of Fame tonight. And I know Westbrook only went up against you 4 times in his career when you were coaching the Giants as he came into the league in 2002. And in that 2003 season, he had 4 touchdowns and a special 84-yard punt return late into the game. How tough was it to prepare against Brian Westbrook, and what made him such a good player for the Eagles?
Well, I remember that punt return real vividly. He's a great player. He was a competitive player. He had a great sense of the game, and he was just a guy you got to deal with because he can come out of the backfield, catch the ball, he can run the ball. And those guys kind of matured at the same time. I remember, Donovan McNabb was a young quarterback, and all we tried to do was force him to stay in the pocket, try to beat us from the pocket. And once he learned how to do that rather than have to scramble, he became an effective guy, and he and Westbrook, and then they started to beat us. It was an even fight.
Those Eagles teams, they got to so many NFC championship games, and they finally got over the hump in 2004 and lost a close one to the Pats in the Super Bowl. Why do you think Andy Reid was never able to win a Super Bowl with the Eagles?
That's a hard question. I mean, getting there is difficult, and, some people just, you just can't do it. I mean, it's only one game. It's like I said when we got beat in the Super Bowl. We had a great year and a bad day. Okay, and so somebody's going to win it, somebody's going to lose it, and it's hard enough to get there, but it's really a hard explanation. I mean, it's just a game, and whoever happens to get some breaks, because breaks play a part in that game, and has a good day, then they win. I don't think it's a bad coaching job, or you certainly don't have a bad football team of personnel, but it's one game, and the winner goes home, and then they're remembered forever.
A team that's had success in that one game of the Super Bowl has been the Giants. Coughlin and Eli have won 2 of them, going up against 2 really good New England Patriots team, one that was undefeated and the other one that was in 2012 that had a really good squad. It looks like maybe they're trying to have one final push, one last hurrah for Coughlin and Eli. But Eli from 2005 to 2014, even though as great as he's been winning Super Bowls, he's averaged about a little bit over 17 picks a season. This year he has 10 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. What do you think the biggest difference is from Eli Manning in years past to this year when it comes to protecting the football, Coach?
Well, I think he realizes that, when I saw him sometimes, he doesn't have to always try to make a play. If he doesn't have a guy open or he's under pressure, be smart with the football. You don't just throw it up. The Super Bowls, when they threw that, he just threw that one up. I think it was on fourth down. David Tyree caught it on his helmet. That thing could have gone the other way real easy. And I think over the years, he realizes sometimes I don't have to take that chance. And I think quarterbacks that have talent, you got to be careful that they will take a lot of risk when you don't need to take risk. You got a good football team with you. You got a good defense. Just be part of it. You'll take a few shots, but don't take a lot of high-risk plays.
It also can't hurt when you have a player like Odell Beckham on the offensive side of the ball for Eli to throw that ball up to, because it seems like every week the guy makes a miraculous grab. He's battling a hamstring injury. He's a game-time decision. How do you prepare for a player like that, though, when you don't know if he's going to be able to go, especially at a player of that caliber like an Odell Beckham Jr.?
Well, I think, you go in thinking he's going to play. You got to do that. You go. He's going to play. This is what we're going to do now. And then this is how your game plan, and you evolve to your players. Expect him to play. But if he doesn't, here's our alternative, and we better be ready to make some adjustments. We might go double somebody else. We might have some different coverages. But it's not too dramatic. It's just, here's how we're going to stop him, Odell, if he's giving us a lot of trouble.
Coach, I don't know how much you watch of the Eagles, but early on in the season, they played the Falcons, and the Falcons had a lot of success through the air, and a big reason for that was, the Eagles don't play that great in coverage, but they couldn't generate a pass rush, and then you had guys like Julio Jones and Matt Ryan keep on connecting big play after big play. Tonight, you have this prolific offense in the Giants that we know if you give Eli time to throw the football, they're going to hurt you. How do you think the Eagles do get a better rush tonight? Because they do have a good front seven, but you got to put some licks on the quarterback.
Well, yeah, there's different avenues depending upon your personnel and all that. But I will say this. I'll say this. If the Eagles want to get into the playoffs, and I think there's only two viable teams now, Eagles and the Giants. I don't think the Cowboys are going to make it, and I certainly don't think the Washington Redskins are going to make it. So it's a fight between those two, and you got to look at it that way. But in order for the Philadelphia Eagles to get into playoffs and have a successful season, I'm going to base it on what I saw last year, and that's where they've got to make changes. Last year, well, for the last 2 years, their defense was on the field for more plays than any other team in the league. Their defense played more plays. Well, you're going to wear them out. You're going to get injuries, okay? The second thing is they had an upside-down turnover ratio, all right? I think they were like -5 or -6, something like that, okay? Every year I've watched it. Last year, the 12 teams that got in the playoffs, 12, 11 of them had positive turnover ratio. One team, the Indianapolis Colts, was -1, I believe it was. So they were barely under the water. You don't get in the playoffs if you're very far underwater on the turnover ratio. And by the way, if your defense is playing more than anybody else, that'll cook it. You're not going to get in the playoffs. So it doesn't matter about the numbers and all that stuff. That, to me, that's what the Eagles have. If they can solve that problem, they'll be in the playoffs.
We're talking to Jim Fassel, joins us, former Giants head coach from 1997 to 2003. And a big reason why there has to be those changes, like those numbers that you were alluding to, is Chip needs to adapt. And he has to stop being so stubborn and has to make adjustments from week to week. And to be fair, he started to put some of the blame on himself, change his tune going into that Saints game. And then you saw him make some adjustments, especially in his goal line play calling. You've been around a lot of coaches. I'm sure you could tell the difference between a good one and a great one, or even a bad one. Are you a fan of what Chip Kelly's doing for the National Football League and here in the city of Philadelphia?
I would be if he realizes he's in a different league, okay? The NFL is different than college football. It definitely is. Because in the NFL, on any weekend, anybody can beat you. And the numbers are there. The numbers are there. If you go back in history, the 12 teams that make it, the most I've ever seen is 2 teams, and they weren't very far underwater with a turnover ratio. That right there is the number one thing in the NFL that'll predict whether you win or lose. In college football, you can be just flat better than the other team, and it's not going to matter. So you feel like, well, that's just us. In the NFL, that's not the way it operates. I think Chip Kelly's a good guy. I think he took a lot of risks in the off season with player personnel, but he's got to address the fact to get his defense off the field and concentrate on eliminating turnovers, and then I think they'll be on the right track. And if he wants to do that, then I think he's admitted to himself, I need to make some changes.
Now, you made that jump from college to the pros. The biggest difference, though, between you and Chip was you went from Utah to being a coordinator in the league. Chip went to Oregon to being a head coach before you eventually got that head coaching gig with the New York Football Giants. For you, when you went from Utah to being a coordinator, what was the toughest part of adjusting from the college game to the pro game?
Well, it's much more sophisticated, and there's the same things that you do. I mean, the guys on defense are bigger, faster, stronger, and better players by far. Better players. And when I went into the league, my first job was offensive coordinator with the Giants. Then I was the offensive coordinator at Denver. Then I was the offensive coordinator at Oakland. Then I was the offensive coordinator at Arizona before I went back to the head coach. So I got a lot of learning process. You know, when I went into the league at first, my ears were open and my eyes were open to look and hear how this game's played. And I had Phil Simms, and he was great, and the coaches. And I just absorbed it all and learned it, got my own philosophy. But it's different. I mean, it's different. Like the spread offense. You know, I know they try it in that league, but that defensive end, man, he is a much better athlete than the quarterback. He really is, almost all the time. But in college football, that's not necessarily the truth. The better athlete is a quarterback, and he's run around the guy and outrun him, but not. I'd like to see somebody run that against Michael Strahan.
Yeah, good luck. You know, and you were a guy that you came into the league in your first year as head coach of the Giants, and you took the league by storm, just like Chip. You had 10 wins. You won Coach of the Year. But eventually, the great NFL coaches find a way to adjust, and they're going to figure out Chip Kelly's scheme. And that's why I think you're seeing some of these deficiencies in the last 2 years with Chip's offense, because people are learning to take away that space, and they're making those adjustments. What did you learn, though, after your first year of coaching in the National Football League, and how did you adjust your ways, and what do you think Chip really needs to adjust as well?
Well, again, you look at what makes you win and lose. When I went to the New York Giants, and you're right, I got Coach of the Year that year. The reason I got Coach of the Year was we were unanimously the only team picked to finish last in our division. Okay, we were picked by every sporting news, everything. The only team to finish last. Okay, we were in some issues. There was when I first went there was a salary cap problem. We didn't really have a quarterback established. We didn't really have a lot of speed, and so we went about it. And I just broke it down. And I got the job because, you know, I was a supposedly guru throwing the football and all over the park. Well, I went there. We're not going to throw the ball over the park. This is my personnel. I got to coach these guys. All right, I'm going to do the best. But you know why we won the division? We were the first team to win the division undefeated, when everybody thought we were last place. The reason we won? We had a plus 25 turnover ratio. We did not turn the ball over, and our defense went and got it. And we were a pounding, running machine.
That's the key. You just can't turn the ball over in this league. I know you know that, and that's what you've been saying for the whole interview, and I 110% agree. And you have a guy like Sam Bradford, who even in a win last week up against the Saints, and people said that was his best performance, he threw 2 picks in the red zone. That's still the enigma to me with this whole Chip Kelly process. I haven't been the fan of every move that he made. Yes, I did like how he brings in DeMarco Murray, but you have to utilize him better. I don't think he pays that much attention to the offensive line since he hasn't drafted an offensive lineman in 2 years. But you take a look at the most important position to me in the NFL, and that's the quarterback. I don't know if Sam Bradford can go out there and get this team to the playoffs. He's coming off 2 ACL injuries. When you look at Sam Bradford, what kind of quarterback do you think he's capable of being?
You know, I like Sam Bradford. I think he's got great talent. The only thing is, the one thing that is vastly important to the quarterback is, what kind of leader is he on the team? Is he the first guy in the locker room and the last guy to leave, and he just acts like a coach, and the players have have a lot of confidence because he doesn't make any mistakes. The kid's got talent. I think he's got the right attitude, and I like the guy. But again, until you really know a guy and how he handles the team, well, that's the determinator. Is he got the team behind him, and then he'll be the leader and it'll grow.
Chip has made a lot about culture, and he thinks culture wins before talent. You've been in a lot of locker rooms. As a coach, when you come in that first few years when you're on the job, how do you win over a locker room? How do you gain the respect of your players?
Well, this is what I always tell my coaches every year I've coached, and I remind them at certain times, okay, is the players don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. If they know you care about them as a person and you're going to try to make them a better football player, and I'm not just going to scream and yell at you, you and I are together, and they trust you, they like you, the learning curve is a lot better, and that's a lost art with some coaches.
Last one with Jim Fassel before we let you run. Now, let's get a prediction for tonight. Who do you like in this Monday Night Football game? And many people are saying the winner of this game, I know it's early in the season, is going to go on to win the NFC East, Coach.
Yeah, I think it's a two-horse race, these guys, and I think it's going to be a good game. I think the Giants will win at the end. I think if they get the lead and the way they're playing football, they better not shut it down too early because Philly has the ability to just cut it loose and come after you.
Well, enjoy that good weather, Coach. We appreciate a few minutes today. Always fun to talk to you. Thanks a million.
All right, good to talk to you.